What's going on, YouTube? Welcome back to our real estate and construction YouTube channel down home in the beautiful state of Texas. And today we have a very special guest. We have Larry White from here in Houston, Texas. So with over 17 years of real estate experience, he's had a very diverse and accredited career. He's positioned himself as a forward-thinking company man and looking to guide people on where the market's going. I've been excited for this show for a little bit. I know we've been trying to get it on the schedule, so it's great to sit down with you today, Larry.
Oh man, I'm thrilled to be here and yes, put together some content, try to add some value to people and help them adjust and exceed their goals with wherever they are at in their career and stuff. So I'm excited to be here.
Absolutely. And I know I gave a short intro on you there, but if you wouldn't mind, could you also, say a bit about yourself, about what you do and how you help people in the real estate market?
Yeah, man. I have a pretty diverse career in real estate. I actually graduated college and got some internships and stuff into the Target Corporation. Figured out I did not want to do retail for the rest of my life. And so my best friend was joining the police department at that time. They worked 4 10-hour shifts. I was like, oh man, that is perfect. But I took a huge pay cut kind of going that route. And that's what initially got me into real estate. I was fixing and flipping. I was doing double escrows, which they call wholesaling these days, right? And it wasn't long before I was making more working 5 or 10 hours a week than I was full time. And so it was right about 2006, 2007, where I was like, man, what happens if I actually apply myself? And I burned my ship. I ended up taking my pension plan and investing it into a Ponzi scheme. Obviously, I did not know it was a Ponzi scheme. So everything that I had built up in savings went away like that. And I remember my dad asking me, because the market, as I burned my ship, started going down really fast. I remember my dad asking, what happens if you don't sell a home? And I was like, I don't have that choice, right? That's not even an option at this point in time. And I look back, I wouldn't have changed it for the world, because I had to develop skills that has allowed me to get where I'm at today. I mean, for the first 3 years of my career, I would call 50 people, contact 50 people a day on the phones. That makes my script and role play practice. I will put it up there against the best of them on how to interact and build rapport and stuff in the middle of a conversation with somebody that's a cold lead. Right. And it got me into the default space. Opened a company for auction.com, grew a company with Carrington Real Estate Services to almost 3,000 agents across the country, used to carry over 2,000 listings at a time, and teach agents how to leverage those opportunities to produce more, build databases, right? Create systems that made money whether you went to work or not. And I felt like that was one of the key pieces. And so still doing that today. We haven't foreclosed on homes in the last 3 years. So I feel like there's this pent up demand in the marketplace right now. And everybody has been making money in this up market. I think these next 3 or 4 years, people with skills are going to really rise to the top. It's not going to be as easy. You'll see some fluctuations and stuff there. And so, they're the market is never good or bad to me. It's just different. And you got to figure out what your business plan looks like and how you're going to capitalize on those opportunities. So I'm pumped for it.
Absolutely. And I could, I could definitely tell, when we met down here in Houston, I know we met last fall at one of the seminars that you gave. And what really, what I really took home from that was, what you just said is that the people with the skills are going to rise to the top in good times or in bad. And one thing I wanted to ask you about as well was the title of your seminar, your talk was recession-proofing your business, right? At least on its face, it looks like it's too good to be true. How can you really recession-proof anything, right? Could you talk a bit more about maybe how someone who's looking to build a real estate business, or maybe they're working full-time looking to get into real estate, how they can kind of take those steps to build themselves during this time?
Yeah, absolutely. So here's the thing. I think that we are directly compensated by how much value we add to others. So if you are not making enough in this marketplace, like, don't look at everybody else and say, why won't you buy a home from me? Why won't you do this? Why won't you do that? Like, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing to add value to people, right? Because if the market's going up or down, it's kind of irrelevant to me. Most salespeople, I don't care what industry it's in, they're trying to sell people, right? Like, oh, like, look at my solar panels, look at my air conditioning units. Like, what does Aaron need? What does Larry need, right? Like, they miss the key part in finding out what their clients need. So I find if we ask the right questions, we can figure out how to add value to people. So as I coach and train some of the top agents across the country, like, one of the things is like reaching out to your database, people that already know, like, and trust you, and not picking up the phone and saying like, hey, do you want to buy or sell a home today, right? Like, because then people stop answering your phone call because you become spam. People on average only buy or sell a home once every 7 to 12 years. So you don't need to have that conversation, but how do you add value to people? Right? That's the key part. Hey, Aaron, how's it been? These past 3 years have been crazy. What are you doing these days? Oh my gosh, I talk to hundreds of people every single month. Like, would it help you? Like, are you taking new clients? Could I send business to you? Like, would that help you? Right? And now people will start to think reciprocally, oh man, that was nice. Like, how can I help Larry out? Right? So when you come from that place of service, right? When you come from that place of selflessness, right? You start to create these opportunities. And just that alone. So when we're talking about recession proof, right? Like, people are going to be in tight spots. People are in forbearance agreements. People are not going to know what their options are. So this is where we have to have the right systems with CRMs or databases, social media, your physical activity of call, text, writing postcards, whatever you decide to do, to where you're always in front of them whenever they need you. And this is kind of what I built. Like, I get referrals across the country because, like, that's kind of the branding that I built. Like, look, you need the best person in Dallas, Texas, I got you. You need a painter in such as Greenwich, Connecticut, I got you. Right? Even like, I will like accept a challenge. Hey, Larry, can you do this? Absolutely. Hang up the phone and be like, oh shit, how am I going to do this? Right? But it forces you to figure it out at that point. So I kind of get over my skis quite a bit in quite a bit in my life, but that provides the most growth opportunities. There was a one time where I started my career in Phoenix, Arizona, and one of my clients said, hey, we have a couple hundred listings. Like, can you handle them? I was like, I got you. No problem. So you're going to like start sending these over the next month? He's like, well, I wanted to send them to you this week. And I was like, oh, yeah. Like, I was taking deep breaths, but I was like, oh yeah, I got you. Right? Like, trying to play it off cool. And our email just started blowing up. And so literally we had to break up Phoenix, and Phoenix is very similar to Houston, a huge metropolitan area, into quadrants, right? And each of us took a different quadrant to go get all the property inspections and stuff like that. And again, it forces you to build better tools, better resources and stuff like that when you get pushed to your limits, not like when you're in your comfort zone and everything's going right. So I constantly try and do that every single day, is kind of push my comfort zone and stuff there.
Absolutely. And, that can be, very scary for people, right? You even said kind of getting over your skis and, you hang up the phone, oh my gosh, how am I going to figure this out?
Yeah.
And, it can be tough, for some people, trying to fill someone else's cup when maybe their, your own cup is a bit half full right now during this hard, economic time.
And that's a key point, right? Like, that's a big part of what I teach. Like, people are walking around with empty cups all the time, right? When they give all of their love, all of their support, all of this, they wake up and they start responding to everybody else's issues because of this, and they've never worked on themselves. So this is where I think kind of morning routines and stuff come into place, right? Like, my morning routine, it started at 15 minutes. Man, it's probably 2 hours long now, to where now I'm like, okay, I have to go to work now, right? But that's yoga, it's meditation, it's, making a green juice, it's reading, it's this, all things to make sure that my cup is full, so I can go and deliver the best to my clients, to the agents that I work with, right? So that we're always kind of pushing that envelope. So that's a really key point, and people forget about themselves, and they're doing the right thing, like they're focusing on other people, which is a good thing, but they don't realize that if they don't fill their cup up, like they run out of energy and juice, etc., and it doesn't behoove anybody in that relationship.
Sure, that makes a lot of sense. And one big question someone could have as well is, why would you need any sort of coach, right? Of course, you have, this easy accessibility. You have the internet, you have podcasts, you have, YouTube channels, all these different things. What's the importance of, being with someone who's coaching you up and helping you along the way?
So, man, I've I learned this really early in life. The information is there, right? There's no lack of information. We're in an information age at this point. You can find anything you want. Hell, even like with chat GPT and stuff, like artificial intelligence is becoming smarter than us and will educate us where things are going and give you, like, it will solve problems for you. But that coach, that trainer, that experience is something that's not duplicatable. And so if you've never done 20, 60, 300, 3,000 deals a month, right, there's a big learning curve that goes into that. So you hire somebody, or you partner with somebody, or you have the right mentor or trainer that has done more than you, so that you can expedite your learning curve. Again, you could do all of this shit on your own. You don't need me. You don't need anybody else. Could by us partnering, we get there faster, right? When I coached and trained for Tom Ferry, #1 real estate coach in the world for about 8 years. Great friend, great mentor of mine, learned so much, right? And like, one of the things, as I was coaching these agents and stuff across the country, I think my average client made close to $600,000 a year that I coach. I didn't teach them a magic formula. I didn't whistle. These guys were already successful when they came to me, but we formulated a plan. We knew where we were going. We formulated a plan to get there. And then we just stayed on track, right? And every week, it wasn't talking about new, bright, shiny objects. It was staying the course, right? We had already built the plan that was going to get us to our destination, right? If we needed to meet somewhere in the Heights or something here, we would put the address into our GPS and it would tell us the route to get there. We wouldn't shut it off and be like, oh, I'm going to take this road I've never taken before, right? But that's what people do with their business, because sometimes it gets monotonous when you're only doing 3 or 4 things every single day. So again, that's where your morning routine comes. You have to be grateful for the journey, right? And you have to appreciate everything that you're learning along the day and stuff there, and keep building on that. Now, I'm not saying your business plan can't change or anything like that, but people end up, oh, Zillow calls, or this lead source calls, or, oh, I'm going to try this. Oh, this person had this success. Like, but they already had their business plan, and then they start to deter from it. And then they get this widening of the gap, and then they're off course at that point in time. So
Absolutely.
yeah, that's why you would get a coach, right? Like, so you can learn from their experiences and stuff. And if you look at every top professional in the world, Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, right? Like LeBron James, like, they're naturally better than everybody else. They still have a coach. They still listen to their coach, right? Because that coach can observe your business, like, and you can work on your business instead of in your business, because we get wrapped up in, oh, I got to do this, I got to do this. And then we stop like working on it at the end of the day.
There's a lot to be said for really having that unbiased third party. Even it's there was something that I read maybe a few weeks back, but along the lines of, you can only ask your family and your friends so much, because they're very biased people, because they know you and they love you, whereas maybe someone that you're working with as a coach, they kind of have a unique perspective to maybe mannerisms or habits of thought or things like that you have.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's that unbiased third party, right? Looking from the outside in. You're absolutely right.
Sure. And I know towards the end of last year, your big thing was really helping people prepare for the new year. Without getting, maybe too into the weeds, could you talk a bit more about how someone can formulate a good business plan and maybe some mistakes that people could make, when trying to make a business plan for the new year?
So the first and foremost is they're not specific enough, right? People come and say, like, I want to make a lot of money. It's like, what does that even mean? Right? Like $30,000 a year might be a tremendous amount to some people. $30,000 a month to some people may not be a lot of money. Right? So you have to be very specific and know what you're going towards. Right? How much do you want to make this year? And then you start working backwards, right? And formulating, okay, how many deals does that go into, right? If you want to make, the most common answer in real estate is $100,000, right? And so if you want to do that, on average, that's probably, let's call it 11 deals here in the Houston area for the year. I know on average that it takes about 60 contacts with people in order to formulate a deal. So now we're talking about 660 contacts for the year that we need to make. Now we eat the elephant one bite at a time, right? Or as my wife would say, crying, right? She's like, I'm not eating an elephant. That sounds so. I was asking one time in class, I was like, how do you eat an elephant? And somebody was like, crying, like, oh man, that would be terrible if I had to eat an elephant. I'd be so sad. And I never thought about that, right? But you break that down into a monthly, weekly, daily type list, right? And so if we were going to do that, it's only about 55 contacts for the entire month. Now we break that into working days. You're talking about 3 contacts a day. Now that's pretty reasonable for anybody to do, right? And now the better that your skills and stuff come into play, the higher your conversion ratio gets. So, right, you might be able to get that to 1 out of every 40 does a deal with you, right? The more value that you add to people, the better that will get. And so knowing where you want to go, what that's going to do for you, because everybody has a plan until you get punched in the face, according to Mike Tyson, right? And life is going to punch you in the face. The market's going to punch you in the face. So this is where your why has to come in. What are you working towards? If that's not big enough, when you're hungover, when you're sick, when you're this or that, then you're going to fall off course. And the faster you get back on track, the easier it's going to be for you to hit your goals. So being specific, knowing what you want, why you want to get there. Then once we have our contacts, great. What are 3 or 4 things that you want to do in order to make those contacts? Open houses, cold calling. Are you buying leads? Are you doing social media? Right? And then we just pick 3 or 4 of those and we absolutely crush them. We try not to be a jack of all trades and a master of none. Like, we'll take other forms of business if they fall into our lap, but we're not going to spread ourselves thin. We're going to be like SEAL team, laser focused and know our objective and just go out there and crush it.
Absolutely. And that definitely makes a lot of sense about not having goals that are too specific. And, I chuckled at, hearing about the 100,000 because it seems like anyone who's, up and coming in the business, that's, they want to, make 10 grand a month, 100,000 a year or something like that.
Yeah. They think they've made it, but here's the thing. Difference between $80,000 and $100,000 is almost nothing. When you take in taxes and expenses and all of this stuff, it's what you do with that money. So if you make $20,000 extra, is that going into an IUL, right? Is that going into, maybe it's a syndication? So now that money's making money for you and doing these things, right? Like that's where the differences will come in. How disciplined are you? And so that's where when you're creating these business plans, what's your year plan, your 3-year plan, your 5-year plan, your 10-year plan, right? And all of those have to align together so that you're going in the right direction.
Absolutely. And that leads into as well. I thought I'd ask about, you calling yourself, at least online, the catalyst man. Is that kind of where it comes from, really just leveraging the money you have and putting it into something else and seeing it grow? Or what exactly does a catalyst man mean in real estate?
Yeah. So catalyst and creator of opportunity, right? when I was transitioning in the corporate real estate world, I was negotiating a contract. And for some reason, like I put in there, like, oh, I want to create my own title, right? I didn't want to be an AVP, an RVP, right? Like, or like a sales manager, right? And they were like, as we were negotiating salaries and contracts and this and that, they were like, okay, you could do that. And then I was like, what do I want to be when I grow up? Like, it better be something really cool at the end of the day, right? And so it took me a while and stuff like that, but I was like, no, like I want to push the market forward, right? I want to create opportunities when there aren't any. And so that's where like I do a lot in the cryptocurrency space, a lot in the default space. I love when the market shifts and turns and, we start working more with institutional buyers and things like that and developing systems that aren't out yet. I think that's the opportunities. It's like getting in on the ground floor of a company, right? Able to invest in Google before they go public and stuff. Like we all have those opportunities as the markets continue to shift. Do you take advantage of them? So yeah, that's where I am the self-proclaimed catalyst and creator of opportunity. And it came from a job opportunity when they were like, okay, you can have that. And then I had to figure out what I wanted to be when I grew up.
I love it. I think that's such a neat story. And, we've covered a lot of ground today, Larry, a bit about, your background, being a catalyst, why you need a coach, and of course, formulating a business plan. So is there anything that, we haven't talked about, or maybe a message you really just like to hit home for us?
Oh man, we did talk about some good things and filling your cup up first. Like the fuller your cup is, the happier you are with what you're doing. It's going to show, right? We've all been to restaurants and stuff where the people that were serving us, you could tell did not want to be there, right? They weren't in the right headspace, right? And it comes across. It comes across in everything that you do. So there's no shortage of ways to make money in this market. And if you're not happy with what you're doing, man, life is way too short. So be totally fulfilled and grateful for what you're doing. And then be a professional, right? Like create a passion and figure out how to add value to everybody else. So that comes from, if you're sick, that's going to deter you. If you don't have money to turn your lights on and stuff like that, that's going to deter you, right? Like all of these things are going to take away from you. And then build the plan and stay the course, right? Your business plan can change, but you created that for a reason. And if I can help or anything like that, I mean, we're hosting sessions once or twice a month here, working with agents across the country. Tons of opportunity, like in the default and the REO space, always looking for more leaders out there that want to use this inventory to grow groups and grow teams. Because when you're carrying 70, 80 listings at a time, you can provide a lot of other opportunities for other agents to do open houses, buyer leads, seller leads, etc., and add a lot of value to people. So I would just go back to the basics. And the more value you add to others, the more you will be compensated. So figure out how to be very valuable to others.
Absolutely. And I think that's really the big takeaway for today's talk is, finding a way to add value to others, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely, Larry. Well, I know you're down here in Houston. Maybe someone is in another state, another part of the country, or they just want to get in touch with you and talk about, your coaching and what you do. Where can we find you?
Yeah, so online at Larry MF White, LARRY, M as in Mary, F as in Frank, White like the color, is my handle on all social media platforms and stuff there. So I would love to connect there. There's my calendar links and stuff associated with all of that. You're welcome to put time on my calendar. My phone numbers and stuff are on there as well. So let's connect. And I mean, maybe just look at my content and see if you even want to connect at this point in time. We don't need to do business with everybody, right? Find people that align with us and stuff like that. But if you want to grow, right? If you want to capitalize, like my niche in coaching was growing groups, teams, companies, etc. So if you want to grow, there's systematic ways to do that. I would love to talk and see what the win-win opportunity is for us, right? Because it has to work out for both of us. So I would love to connect with anybody that's on your channel and stuff here and figure out how we can add more value to them.
Absolutely. Well said, Larry. As mentioned, it's been great, sitting down with you. We've covered a lot of ground today, a bit about, your background, what you do, your coaching, and formulating a business plan, and overall, just adding that good value to people in the real estate market. So it's been a pleasure having you on today, Larry, and thank you so much.
Absolutely, brother. You guys have a great day. We'll talk to you soon.